Hey, I'm Derek,
And I'm Noah, and you're listening to A Bite of.
where we take our current favorite pop culture obsession and enjoy it one nibble at a time.
Very special nibble today.
Yes.
Spoiler free. New Doctor Who.
Cuckoo, crazy, timey-wimey, trench coats, the good stuff.
There is a trench coat in the church on Ruby Road.
He's got, it's leather.
Yeah. All right. So today, how we're going to do this episode, we don't usually do spoiler free stuff. But this has not come out yet. And there is embargo stuff, and we just want to talk about it.
Yeah.
We just want to do a spoiler free vibes. So do not worry. We will not spoil anything for the new Who. We will kind of talk about the specials, the 60th anniversary specials. So that does include the Christmas special with the 15th Doctor.
Yeah.
So if you haven't seen that, that might get spoiled. And also Doctor Who as a whole might get spoiled.
So spoilers, but no spoilers.
Yes.
Wow.
Spoilers for stuff that's already come out. No spoilers for things that have not come out. So this is very loosey-goosey. This is vibes only. This is what it is. Before we get into our vibes only spoiler-free review of Doctor Who, make sure you're following us. Make sure you're throwing some stars our way. Make us very happy. It will make our Tardis fully go where it's supposed to go and not mess up.
I can hear the noise.
Yeah.
The TARDIS noise.
Ugh. It is a noise of my childhood. It is a noise that I always will love.
I want to, it's like you can hear it in your head, but you can't make that noise with your mouth.
No.
Right?
Try.
Too
fast.
Kind
Kind of.
It's like the TARDIS is here.
Guys, the TARDIS landed.
We're in it. Surprise. We've been traveling the whole time.
So make sure you're doing all of that stuff. Also, if you have any thoughts on Doctor Who, want to share love, anything like that, also X-Men 97, we are covering that as well. So programming reminders, we still have the finale of X-Men 97 coming up. So if you have any thoughts on any of those things or what you're currently watching, email us, avonibbles@gmail.com, or just add us anywhere. But yeah, send us those. We'll have some little mailbag stuff.
Yeah, please do. So I feel like Noah has given the spoiler alert already. So
Spoiler free for the spoiler.
We'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
Just no. That's it. Just no. KNOW. All right. So let us officially take a bite of Doctor Who episode 1, Space Babies, directed by Julie Ann Robinson, and episode 2, The Devil's Chord, directed by Ben Chessel, which are both written by the Russell T Davies. So in episode 1, the Doctor and Ruby have their first otherworldly adventure when they board a baby farm that has been abandoned by the adults. However, a monster lurks below deck. In episode 2, the pair travel back to 1960s London, where they discover the magnificence of music has been stripped away by the menacing Maestro.
Ooh, so that sets the stage. That is nothing that you couldn't see on any of the synopses.
Yeah, if you go on IMDb right now, it says that very thing. And the cast lists are there.
So let's start this off a little, because we'll be talking about this new Doctor Who season as they come out, right? And so we've only seen these first two. But before we get into it, let's let our listeners or watchers, if you're watching this on YouTube, do you have any experience with Doctor Who? Like, do you know it just because it's a thing? Because I know you haven't really watched it. So right off the bat, I think this is interesting because you don't have much experience, but I've seen it. So I think it's going to be a fair review here.
Yeah, I agree. I think that this is a really interesting thing that folks are diehard about, right? You love Doctor Who. You are just in it for all that it offers. And you know all the kind of emotional surprises that have happened in past seasons. So I don't know those things. And to be completely honest with you, I didn't even know Doctor Who was a thing, I would say, until about 7 or 8 years ago. So I know this was out in the 60s, right? That's when it began.
And it just had its 60th anniversary.
Yes. So my little brain didn't even know it existed until less than a decade ago. And so it's exciting though to be experiencing it newly because I'm with everybody else experiencing a new Doctor, right? And so you all know the history of it, but I'm in it just as excited as you are to see this new person take the role. I've watched a couple of episodes before. I watched a couple of episodes of the Jodie Whittaker season. I've watched a couple of the Christmas specials, but I've never really watched an entire season through and through.
Which we will fix.
With this one.
Maybe on Patreon of some sort, we'll do like Derek is finally watching Doctor Who. What does he think? Yeah, I actually, it's exciting for me. One, that you're experiencing something that I personally love a lot. Doctor Who has always been like a constant. It came out in 2005, really young then. But even growing up, Doctor Who was a kind of a thing in our household. So it was like the 60s and the black and white versions were on. So it's always been a thing. So with its revival and then still continuing now it's on Disney. So it has that bigger budget. But I'm happy that it seems like because it's on a platform that's easily accessible, more people are going to be talking about it. So as a Doctor Who fan, I always want more people coming in there. Like I think like gatekeeping Doctor Who is like really weird. It should be for everybody, which it is. So I'm so excited for people to experience this for the first time.
Do you think that opening up to a wider audience invites more opinions, whether that's good or bad?
I think in this day and age, everybody has an opinion and it's fine. You just got to like either you want to fight with it or just ignore it and find your group of people and be excited about it.
And do you think that knowing the knowledge of all that has happened before enhances your enjoyment?
So this is interesting, right? And I think this is going to go nicely in with this. So we had the specials, the 60th anniversary special, and then we had the Christmas special, which was technically Ncuti Gatwa's first outing as the Doctor. What I really liked about episode 0, I guess you could call it, and then episode 1, Space Babies, is that they do a really good job of making it friendly for new viewers. And you can speak to this a little more, but I think it's friendly for new viewers because since it's a new Doctor, new companion, they kind of lay the groundwork, right? It's like, who are you? I'm the Doctor. This is the Tardis. This is how everything works. And then they also do nods to people that have seen the stuff before, which is always nice to see. So I think it's enjoyable for everybody, right? I think if you are going to start watching Doctor Who, now is a perfect time to watch it because you have Russell T Davies coming back, somebody that's very beloved with Doctor Who, and then it's a new Doctor. So it's a new adventure. It's a new story. You won't be lost.
Yeah, I think in those first episodes, we as the viewer or the newer viewer are very much the companion. We are being told what everything is. We are learning what the TARDIS is, right? He's explaining to us what it is. And we're like, oh, great. Okay, I got it. I don't know what it looked like before. And I think that's part of the magic of Doctor Who. And even with all of the seasons, things that if I continue watching Doctor Who into the future, one of the things I'll always look forward to, I know personally, is what will the inside of the TARDIS look like? What will the sonic screwdriver look like? What will his sort of accessory be for that season? And that stuff I love because I think that is what really makes that particular Doctor stand out and give them their own identity. So, in looking at those things, you're going, that's who this person is.
Yeah. I mean, you have you have Eccleston's with the leather coat. You have Tennant's with the trench coat and the Converse. You have the tweed look of Smith. You have, it goes on and on. But
I feel like Jodie's was the scarf, right? She had
she kind of had the blue kind of trench coat, and then like the overalls almost, and like the really colorful under part.
Oh, yes.
She did have a scarf at one point. But that is the magic of Doctor Who. It's like they get a new screwdriver, they get a new look, they get a new inside of the TARDIS. It's so much fun. Going into these episodes, what did you think? Like, what are your just general thoughts about these episodes?
So my general thoughts about the episodes is that there's a lot of joy in them. I just felt happy watching them. And I think that's the thing with Doctor Who is that you have to, and we talk about this a lot with other properties, give yourself over to it, right? Lean into it. It's sci-fi. It's fun. It's silly. It's also serious and heartwarming. Like, lean into that goodness because then it'll take over how you're feeling. And that's how I really felt. When I watched, episode 0, The Church on Ruby Road, I'm like, I'm in it, right? Because there's a musical number. There's a giant goblin king. There's just a mysterious old lady that's yelling at them about the Tardis. You know what I mean? It's like
Mrs. Flood.
Yeah. And so you're just kind of like, who are all these people? What is all this stuff? And you know that those things are going to be answered later on. And that's what's so exciting. So I think that in watching these first 3 now, that feeling carried throughout of just like effervescence and joy and wanting to be along for the ride with the Doctor and Ruby.
Yeah, I agree. The one thing, so we actually got to attend a press conference with Ncuti, Millie, and Russell T Davies, and they got to talk a little bit about this. And one of the things from even journalists and reviewers, one thing that kept being brought up was there is so much joy in this. And that's really exciting. And I love to hear that. While a lot of the Doctors did bring joy in their own ways, there's something so special about seeing every single person in this, particularly Ncuti and Millie, the Doctor and the companion, just so much fun. Like they're having fun.
Yeah.
It's not a job. They're just like getting to play.
Yeah.
And that is so much fun to see. And specifically in the Devil's Chord, I think Space Babies is fun. It's a very simple plot. It's like they go somewhere, there's babies. Why are the babies here by themselves? Oh, there's a mystery, right? I want to say that episode is very much like Alien, but like fun. So the movie Alien, just think about that. But with the Doctor and the companion, there's so many beats that are like exactly the same. It's really funny. The second one is more complex and they add more to the lore and you get introduced to this foe and it gives you that other layer of Doctor Who. First episode, super silly. Then you get into it and it's like, oh, my heart's going to get torn out at some point. Got it.
Yeah. I do want to just take a moment to talk about Ncuti Gatwa here.
We have to talk about both of them.
Absolutely. Yes. So we both fell in love with Ncuti on Sex Education.
Which everybody should have.
Absolutely. How could you not fall in love with that character? And he's just so endearing and so lovely and so himself. And when they announced that he was going to be the 15th Doctor, that was just like mind-blowing, right?
I think whenever I saw that announcement, I ran to you and I was like, he's the new Doctor.
And when you said that, I was like, oh my God, yes.
And
yes.
In my head, secretly, I was like, I can finally get Derek to watch Doctor Who with me.
They won me over. They got me. I like, look, I'm brand new to this. I'm sorry, but this is our most gorgeous Doctor.
Oh, no, I agree.
Ever had.
Yeah, I agree.
Oh my gosh, that billion-watt smile that he has. Oh my gosh, he's just so beautiful. And just watching him play, it's just so much fun. It really is. And he's just eating it up. You can tell this is the role of a lifetime. And how could you not be so honored to play it? And I can already tell he's doing justice to being the Doctor.
I love that. You know, it's not often because a lot of times when the Doctor becomes the Doctor, the new person, there's something that has made them regenerate, right? And in this particular instance that we saw in The Giggle is when I was trying to think of the names of them. When David Tennant and Ncuti are on screen together, but it's both the Doctor, the bi-regeneration, which is, I mean, bonkers. You got to see that this Doctor gets to have the life that he deserves, right? And this Doctor has a clean slate almost. There's a line specifically in Space Babies when, you know, we get that very like, you need this for a new Doctor and their companion. When they get on the ship and they're looking out at the expanse of space and wonder and all of this, it's very iconic and you really want those scenes for the new Doctor and their companion. And he's talking to Ruby and he's like, I don't have a purpose. I don't have bills. I don't have any of this or direction. Now, he does, but at this moment, he's kind of free to do what he wants, right? Before the story and everything comes into play. So it's really fun to see him kind of flex a little bit and play around before he's having to like, I don't know, do these like really hard scenes and stuff like that. It's fun to see.
Yeah, it's really fun to see him as the Doctor figuring things out, right? Because that's a part of this. They're kind of in each episode thrown into a situation where they don't necessarily really know what's going on. And he uses his Doctor brain to figure it out, you know, and in the Church on Ruby Road, the episode 0, he learns the language of knots, right? And so like it's just so silly, but you're kind of like, oh yeah. And Ncuti has this moment where when he first figures it out, he pulls it, a latch opens, and then he crawls on all fours out of the latch. You know, it's just having so much fun.
There's a few moments that are just so amazing in these episodes. That one in particular, where it's just like, I don't want to call it unhinged, but it's just like, oh my God, like these characters are doing this. And then there's one in this episode where they're like, oh, it's a monster. It's like, monsters are just things you don't know yet. And it's like, you know, trying to comfort Ruby. And then the monster makes a noise and then they both scream and run. And it's so funny. One of the things I really appreciate about this Doctor is that, yes, they feel new and exciting and so much joy, but they still feel like the Doctor. And I think that's very important, especially for fans that have been watching this forever, because they feel like, one, they're clever, right? But they also are the most like respected person in the room without having to, I don't know, be like, respect me. You know, it's just like they always have that presence. And I think Ncuti does that so well. And you see that a lot with Ruby's family whenever they're in the apartment. Like they listen to him and they're like, okay.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you seem to know what you're talking about. And it's something that's key for a Doctor to have.
I think the Doctor needs to have charisma, right? They, like you said, need to win over everyone in the room so that they are trusted, because they really do know what they're doing and they are there to do good for everyone. So you need to be able to trust that person. And I think that's what Ncuti does and brings to this role. We get that, right? We want to be friends with him. We want to go on an adventure with him. And that's why Ruby chooses to do that with him. You know, she doesn't want to let him go.
Right. Well, yeah, I do think so. Let's get into Millie a little bit, right? Into Ruby Sunday, which is the name.
Such a good name.
Amazing. And her grandmother, Cherry Sunday. I mean, come on.
Who is like kind of a scene stealer in episode 0. She's just like trying to get a cup of tea. There's mayhem going on around her. Oh, she's so good.
So Millie Gibson, amazing. So the companion is just as important as the Doctor. You can't only focus on the Doctor, right? You have to have the companion.
Yes. This is kind of a question I had for you and this is maybe a huge question, but what do you think the most important attribute the companion must have?
Oh, that is very hard. That is a hard question because I think it's dependent on the Doctor, right? So one of the, I think, most beloved ones is Rose and David Tennant. And that was a Doctor and companion for that time. And then we got Donna and the Doctor. We got Martha and the Doctor. And we got all of these. And then Amy Pond and Matt Smith. And it's really dependent on what that Doctor's story is trying to tell. I will say with this companion, I feel like the way that the Doctor was introduced and then this companion was so different from what we've gotten before. Because a lot of times when the companion is introduced, the Doctor gets saved by them. Or I think with Martha's specific instance, she says something that helps them figure out the thing. And in this, they kind of just stumble upon each other. And we already had like 2/3 of an episode with Ncuti before we got to Ruby. So it was an interesting dynamic. I really like Millie. I like Ruby. I think the mystery behind her is fascinating. I think that the relatability between the two, they both don't know where they come from or who their parents are. I think that draws them together. I'm really interested to see more of that. I am sold, but I want to see like how it all plays out, if that makes sense. So I think it's too early to tell like what I hope for this companion, but typically what I want in a companion is them working together really well.
Sure.
And I think they both do.
Yeah.
Both of them are so curious and so like, okay, we'll both jump and do this. And I'm loving that.
That's something that I think is a little different, but with these two compared to other ones, at least of what I've seen, they both feel very young. They both feel very much like they're going to leap before they look. They almost give the energy of when you're younger and you go out on a night with your friends and you get drunk and you just like meet that random person at the bar. And for that night, you're like best friends with them.
Right.
You're drunk, you're having fun. Yeah, let's dance. Let's go get this, blah, blah, blah. And it's just like this feeling of meeting a new person, having that energy between you. There's electricity and you're just going with it, right? And like that's what I feel between them. I think that the two of them have fantastic chemistry and you want to be their friend. You want to go out.
I've always wanted to be the Doctor's friend. Like, will I willingly jump in the TARDIS to go on terrifying, probably will die adventures? Yes.
I believe I would go in the TARDIS, but I would be petrified the entire time.
I feel like, so in Matt Smith's run with Amy Pond and Rory, I feel like you would kind of be like the Rory.
I knew you were going to say that.
Rory's amazing. I'm just saying. But he wasn't like a companion at first. And then he got like sucked into it. I feel like that would almost be you. It's not.
But I'd be good at it.
Yeah.
I'd be a great companion.
Yeah.
We'll talk about feelings.
You would. It's really interesting. I think I'm intrigued by her mystery. And I'm also intrigued by the Doctor's mystery because as we knew from Jodie Whittaker's run, he's not technically a Time Lord. He was adopted by the Time Lords. So where is he from? Where is the Doctor from? It's going to be interesting to see if those intertwine or if they don't, but still on that same journey.
Yeah, I definitely think that there are a lot of really interesting themes going on with this new Doctor and companion. There is the theme of family, found family. There's babies, lots of babies.
There's quite a few like baby stuff.
Yes, and there's also music.
Yep.
And so it's just so interesting to see these very strong themes, really from episode 0 happening and now carrying out between these next two. I'm so curious to see what we're going to uncover as the journey goes on.
Yeah. Before we get into, episode 1, I feel like fun, romp, in space. First fun adventure.
Well,
right?
Look who's using the word romp these days.
It's a good word. It's fun. There is a little bit of mystery in it, which you will have to watch to find out. Very silly. Second episode, before we get into that, I did just want to say how... I've always loved Doctor Who. Doctor Who feels like it's that thing where everybody is important, everybody's involved, and we all should come together, right? The Doctor loves humanity and it shows the best of it and sometimes the worst of it. It makes me so happy that there is a queer person as the Doctor. And it's just amazing. Like I always felt kind of seen in the Doctor Who stuff, and now I feel more drawn to it, more connected to it. And, Russell T Davies, who is queer themselves, during the press conference, somebody had asked, the Doctor, and LGBTQ, it's always like related. What do you make of that? And something that Russell T Davies said that I really liked is I don't like LGBTQ people are people. They're just people. So if a story involves somebody like that, that's a story about that person. And so I really liked how he phrased that, even though it's his world and it's who he is, he tells these stories from the person perspective, So I really appreciated that, but I just wanted to celebrate just that little win. Right?
Yes. I also do appreciate Ncuti Gatwa spinning in a skirt in a club. I also want to appreciate Ncuti Gatwa saying something along the lines of, I spent a very long, hot summer with Harry Houdini. Basically, that's how he learned how to untie ropes. Yeah. I don't know what they were doing, but those things like that really do mean a lot to queer people like ourselves. It is that mirror. And it's so important for in these 60 years of the show to finally have an out queer person playing the Doctor and having a Doctor speak and express themselves in not a binary way of a man or a woman. Well,
the Doctor is fluid. Let's just put it like that. Russell T Davies has said that they don't want to put a sexuality on it. They're an alien. They're fluid. They can be anything. So let's just say that.
And we shall.
Yeah. So Space Babies, fun intro to it. I think the commentary of, refugees and everything like that, great. So let's move on to the second one.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, I do want to say though that because Space Babies is fun and a romp, it's a nice buffer between the Church on Ruby Road and then the Devil's Chord, right? We have sort of serious building up of who these characters are, a little like, woo, this is their first adventure, watch them have fun. And then we get to the Devil's Chord.
Right. One thing that I was worried about with this new Who, not worried, but I was hoping was that New Who, is they would keep the practical, right? Because that's something that we just always know. It's been on the BBC. It's been around for a while. So the practical just feels like Doctor Who. So I'm happy that in this, while you can tell that they have good like visual effects and everything budget, they still go for the practical when they can, like having babies and remote control strollers. So in The Devil's Chord, while Ncuti and Millie as the doctor and the companion are fantastic, Jinkx Monsoon steals the entire episode, has one of the, if not the best intro as a foe for Doctor Who, and is building up to probably be my favorite villain of Doctor Who. I feel weird calling the Maestro a villain because I'm not sure yet through this episode, but for right now, they're a foe.
Yeah.
But I want more.
Yes. I love Jinkx Monsoon. I've been in love with Jinkx Monsoon since RuPaul's Drag Race season 5. Spoiler alert, they won. They also won the all-winner season. They're a 2-time winner of RuPaul's Drag Race, the only one in the history of the entire franchise. This is going to sound ridiculous. I do not know her, but I am so proud of her because of what she has accomplished and who she has become, of just being a quirky theater kid from Seattle who is a drag queen on a show that won and just has now gone onto Broadway, is now on Doctor Who. And there's that beat when you love someone so much and they have a role like this, you're a little nervous almost to go like, oh gosh, is it going to be good? Are they going to do a good job? It's almost like you're kind of giving that thing to everybody, yes, right? And exactly. It's such a big stage. Are people going to love them as much as I love them? And and listen, when you love someone, I think that you could sit back and go, maybe that wasn't so great. Ooh, that made me feel
but you'll still love them.
You'll still love them. I could not want more of Jinkx as Maestro in this. It was like, as it kept going and I kept seeing more, I was like, yes, 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 you're doing it. You're amazing. You're incredible. And just blowing it out of the water. Yeah, it's fantastic. I feel like the Maestro has 2 intros in this episode. Most of our time we're in 1960s London during the Beatles. There is another surprise musical guest in this, which we will not say. But if you liked music from then, you'll know who it is. But so they have 2 intros, right? And the first one I think is fun and interesting and mysterious, and they talk to that music teacher and like, you have so many melodies and songs in you and it's just wasted on potential. You can never get them out. So get them out. The second intro is the intro specifically that I'm talking about. An intro meaning when they first meet the doctor with the tuning fork and using the sonic screwdriver. The visuals, the sound, the no sound, the just like chewing of the scenery that Jinkx does in this. The fit. We haven't talked about the fit. We'll get to that before we stop talking about Jinkx, but it's just so good. What is like, I know we review stuff, right? It's like, it's delicious. It's like, it's just, you feel it. It's so good. Yes. And the thing about Jinkx in this role in particular is that at the snap of a finger, Jinkx is fun and then so scary and then singing. You know what I mean? Like, it's like it, and on a dime, she can turn, and it's just mind boggling to be so enamored and laughing, but then frightened by a person in like the same second. It's almost like I tried to describe this when we were crafting our initial reaction. In my first draft, it was something along the lines of, Jinkx Monsoon's Maestro is somebody that you would love to go to brunch with, but then remember that they could probably kill you. Right. It's like, you have to remember like, oh, they'd probably like, be bad for you. Right. I feel like that's part of the character almost, is that they're just pulling you in until they can snap their jaws. Yeah. It's so much fun. I can't wait to see more of this character. Hopefully I really hope so. We have to get more. Like, Jinkx as the Maestro is going to be a fan favorite. They are already a fan favorite. If you go onto Twitter, so many people are just like going bananas over it just with the initial images. I'm so happy that people get to see this. And like, here's the tea. Like, even if you have I mean, you should be watching Doctor Who, but if you just love Jinkx Monsoon, just watch that episode because you will just be living for what she's doing.
It's riveting.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's really good. The episode itself, I think, sets up some really interesting concepts, bigger, broader things that have implications, things that we've already seen that carry into this one. And I'm very excited to see where this goes because I almost feel like Russell T Davies this time around is, what's the best way to describe this? Is almost doing a more like magical approach to the Doctor as opposed to like a very like science-based approach, more like fairy tale-ish. So like that myth and all of that stuff. That's the feel that I get from this, is specifically with the Maestro and where it could possibly be going. So I'm excited to see. I feel like it's a different feel for Russell T Davies, but it still feels like him. He really excels in the long game. So I'm very excited.
Well, even if you think about really the introduction of Ruby Sunday as an infant, that's a very fairy tale beginning, right? It's left on the steps of a church.
Yeah. I mean, we have so many stories where the person was abandoned, the orphan,
Yes.
So it's very much like that. And that's the feeling I get, which I'm kind of excited for.
And so, I mean, I guess it's kind of like, what is the overall story going to be here? That's the question. Is it really truly to find out who Ruby's parents are? Or is it to find out what this journey is really all about, or who the Doctor really is?
That's the really fun thing about the companions, right? Is that we know their story will end at some point. Because the companions don't. They're not forever, right? The
Unless
Doctor is.
Right.
Unless you're Donna. Oh, my love, Donna. We'll never get to see them again. I'm so sad.
No.
But we know that companion story is going to end at some point. So I feel like for the time being, it's going to be really heavy on that, or the mystery behind that. Which I'm excited for, because I feel like a lot of times it's, the Doctor having to save the companion because of something that they did that affects the companion. And in this time around, it almost seems like the companion is affecting something that the Doctor doesn't know. So it leaves him in the dark a little bit. So it seems interesting.
Yeah, I think so. And just speaking about the mystery, I think that what Russell T Davies is doing so well so far is he's just giving us breadcrumbs, right? We just get one or two little crumbs in each of these episodes, and we gobble them up and we want to go find the other ones.
Yeah.
So I'm very much looking forward to seeing, each episodic little adventure, but also seeing the little piece of the season's mystery.
Yeah. What do you think about the outfits, the costumes in this?
Give me a break.
They've never been better. Like specifically with one, the Maestro has different fits, all either looking like a band leader, but like decked out, or just looking like music themselves. But the Doctor, oh my God. Like I think it was in the second episode, The Devil's Chord, where they're like, oh, aren't we in the 60s? We need to change our look. And she's like, we need a wig. He's like, I got a room full of wigs. And it's like, yes, it's so good.
And, I just think that, again, they're having fun here. And I'm looking forward to seeing what other places they go to, what other times they go to, because I think they're going to have a lot of fun dressing them up.
Yeah. Well, then I think in the next one, Jonathan Groff is in it, and they look like, to steal Ruby's words, oh my Bridgerton. They look like they're in Bridgerton. So we're getting some nice fits in that one.
Absolutely.
I'm so excited to see the costumes, because a lot of times it's like the Doctor always looks the same, which is like, I guess, fine. But now it's fun that they're actually dressing them up.
Oh, 100. And even in episode 0, I think that Ncuti had like 4 or 5 different costume changes. In those first 10 minutes, it was 3 different days. Oh, that big hat. I should have worn my big hat.
You could have worn your big hat.
Dang. Next time. But yeah, they're just, I think, really playing that up for this Doctor.
Things of note before we end this. Told you, it's very loosey-goosey. This is just the vibes.
We said stuff, but we didn't say stuff.
Yeah, and take it how you want it.
What do you think of that?
So Murray Gold is back composing. Doctor Who fans rejoice. Love it. There is at the end of every episode, like a next time, it kind of shows that, what's going to be happening, or what's going to be happening in the season. So something that I know people have been like, is this going to still be a thing? It's still a thing. So it's still a thing.
It's still a thing.
I did want to ask you before we go, just kind of nitpicking, right? The sonic screwdriver. I know you don't have much experience with the sonic screwdriver, but how do you feel it being more remote-ish?
It's the least screwdriver I've ever seen. I still think it does. It's fun. Like, I'm not good at sound effects.
No,
that was a little better.
It's closer, but not. I think that got it.
Okay.
Just 2 minutes straight.
Let me just keep trying. It looks more like there was a toy called a Yak Back in the late 90s where like you'd speak into it and then it would do your voice in a funny voice. That's what it reminds me of.
Right.
So I guess I don't have any negative feelings about it. Do I think it looks like a screwdriver? No.
Well, I don't. Yeah. I mean, it's like always been a screwdriver, but not. I think, Russell T Davies had said something about like, maybe he didn't. Somebody had said something like they didn't want it to kind of look like a gun in a way of like how they use it. So they made it flatter and like a remote. It's going to be interesting to see what it can do this time. Because I feel as time's gone on, it can do more things than initially even Russell T Davies said it could do. So I'm excited for that.
And I think we all just need to take a moment to remember that it is Mavity. Not Gravity, which was changed in the Giggle episode, right? And it's still going on.
I love it.
Through this.
Give me more of those. I love the jokes in these where it's like there should be a laugh track like happening when this like joke is said. There's plenty of those. But I'm very happy with these episodes. I'm excited to see where the Tardis is going to go next.
Do you think that the Tardis will go back and change it back to gravity?
I don't think
by the end of this season.
The Tardis doesn't care. The Tardis is like, where do you want to go?
Or the Doctor, I should say.
Well, I don't think so. Like, I hope they don't. Like, forever in Who, it's just always going to be Mavity. Why not?
Sure.
Do you want them to change it back?
I just think that would be a fun little like bookend if at the end of the season somehow they get back there and they see Isaac Newton again and they call it Gravity.
I want it to stay because the Dr. Donna is like the one that changed it. So it's going to always be Donna and 10 are still going to be in the Who.
They'll always be represented in the Who.
Yeah. All right. So that's our vibes only, spoiler free.
Yeah. So as you can tell, we were not vibing with it at all. Totally hated it.
Do you have any critiques? I mean, this is a review.
Well, the only critique I personally have is that I think that the Maestro's wigs could have been bigger. That is seriously it. Like I always think of like when I watch RuPaul's Drag Race, they always say that like a bigger wig balances out the shoulders and so just it's a little tighter. So I wish it was a little bigger. But that's really it. I mean, and that's me nitpicking.
Maybe they were initially going to do it, but they couldn't because they had to have Jinkx crawl out of pianos.
Sure.
So they were like, the wig just can't fit through.
That's true.
That's
true. I mean, I'm not saying I wanted it to be like Sideshow Bob. You know what I mean? But I think it could have had a little more presence.
They did go this way.
Yeah. How about you? Do you have any critiques?
No, I love it. I think my only critique is, no, I don't. I think I kind of said some things that are a little funny to me, like how they met and everything, which is not really a critique. It's just different, right?
Different isn't always bad.
No, it's not. Yeah. Everybody's special. Just like the doctor said to the baby, your uniqueness is what makes you so special.
Those babies, though, they were cute.
Poppy.
What did
he call her? My popsicle?
Oh, she was so beautiful. Okay, forget it. That's where we're leaving it.
All right. So next time we can freely talk about Doctor Who. So see you next time.
See you next time.
Bye.
Bye. That's not the TARDIS. That's not the TARDIS. I can't do it.